Welcome back to Chamber Exchange, a TV show brought to you by St. Vincent Hospital in Bank Hometown. In our previous segment, we had Al Vona, who's the underwriting manager and host at 90.5 WICN FM. He gave me a nice little coffee mug with a WICN.org logo on there, and so I guess people want to make a donation or contribute or do more with WICN, maybe you can get a nice mug. So thank you, Al, for that. But we're going to go into our final segment with Nia Rennix, who's the executive director of the Central Western Mass chapter of the American Red Cross. So, Nia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I think most viewers understand and have heard of the Red Cross. It's a national, international organization, but one of the things I think makes the Red Cross unique is their chapters, if you will, if that's what they're called, are really hyper-focused on kind of meeting the needs and partnering in a whole variety of ways to address issues when people are in need locally, and that's exactly what the Central Western Mass chapter looks to do, right?
Absolutely. So you said it perfectly. I couldn't have said it better myself. We focus on the local chapter. It's a huge international organization, national and international organization. We're the largest humanitarian organization in the world. And Central Western Mass, we encompass about a little over 122 counties and cities. So we
Across
represent
the country.
Well, Central and Western
Central
Mass.
Mass.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Central and Western Mass encompasses, or I oversee, right, in my team,
Got it.
over 122 cities and towns. So we have a really active and robust kind of local chapter. We have 2 offices, so I split my time between 2 cities, so Worcester and Springfield. So we have 2 offices there, as well as our fixed blood centers, both in Worcester and in Springfield.
And my previous role as Lieutenant Governor, along with Governor Patrick, in the aftermath of the tornado that hit in West Springfield, and literally across Western Mass, Central Mass, left devastation, and unfortunately some loss of life. But Red Cross was front and center in a lead in responding to the needs of individuals, families in that aftermath. So we're kind of in that season right now.
We are.
Tornado, hurricane season. We've seen Red Cross motivate and activate in other parts of the country. How are you working like on a regular basis to be prepared?
Well, we prepare, right? So, for example, when we have local disasters, we partner with our local fire department and police department. So when there is a fire that reaches the devastation level that we actually go out to, we get a call. We get a call from the fire department. And we have almost like satellite locations where there are volunteers in different parts of the central and western, area. So when we get that call, we mobilize those volunteers, those teams to go out to those areas. On a national scale, if we're not a designated city, so for example, unfortunately what's going on with Hurricane, Beryl, okay? It's not in this area, it's not in the northeast area, but they need our help. So as long as there's nothing potentially dangerous going on as a hurricane in our area, we get that designated email, that designated call, which means that we need to activate. They need help. So in the Central and Western Mass chapter, we've had 10 volunteers went over to Iowa as well as Texas to help with that, devastation. Right now we're at a steady state, which means that they have enough individuals over there. But again, we're in that season right now. And then with climate change, the climate is changing, and because of that, we are seeing more and more hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and wildfires. Yeah, so we expect to probably send some more people over, and we're prepared if we need to do that.
Right, and you mentioned volunteers, and I think that's an important point to make in terms of, you train and work with volunteers. These aren't people just show up, I'll go somewhere and don't have some level of training or expertise. So maybe we could talk about how, if someone's interested in volunteering and how you work with volunteers.
Oh, I love this topic. So I love our volunteers. They are the bedrock of any nonprofit, but especially the American Red Cross. In Massachusetts alone, 94% of our workforce is made up of volunteers, believe it or not. Okay, so these are people that are just passionate.
That's a pretty big force multiplier.
It is, and 91% of volunteers nationally. make up the Red Cross. Okay, so when you think about it, I mean, that's a huge number. I mean, these are folks that are just passionate and just love our mission. And these volunteers can volunteer for, there's several roles. I mean, I would recommend going on to redcross.org, so that's Massachusetts, and look at all the different positions that are available. We have blood ambassador positions, so folks that work in our biomed department. We have what's called our disaster action team. So those are those people on the front lines, those volunteers that go out to these local disasters. Doesn't matter what time, right? Disaster doesn't have a time, right? It could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or it can be 3 o'clock in the morning. And there's a training that goes along, with it. But we guide that person from day one. Once they fill out that application, they go through the training process, which is about a month. But it's divided into different activities and things that they would have to do, and different exams and stuff like that. But again, our volunteer services team and our disaster team kind of tracks that individual and follows them throughout the process. And they get, paired with someone who's more of a seasoned volunteer, depending on the role. We also have volunteer positions in our service to armed forces, which is a line of service that people don't even realize that the Red Cross has to offer. But we support military individuals and their families from the moment they're in the military till they leave. So there's roles like that. There's also roles, you have a health background or a science background. We have roles in that space. Counseling services. So there's a whole variety of different roles, volunteer positions.
So you mentioned pre-prepare. Pre-prepare. So glad we were able to get that information about the volunteer and how you work with them. If someone didn't want to be a volunteer but somehow contribute, a big part is kind of the blood drives, which is regular and ongoing. And in a couple minutes we have left, want to maybe give you a chance to talk about that.
A couple minutes? Okay.
It goes quick. 7 or 8 minutes.
Talk that long? Okay. Well, so unfortunately, in the central and western part of the chapter, we no longer have like mobile blood drives, but we do have our fixed blood centers. Okay. So because of that, my team, my board members, we do host events in our blood centers. Okay. So we do host somewhat of a pseudo kind of blood drive in our
But those are open on a regular basis, and people are encouraged to come
every single day, 7 days a week. Yeah, they're open, and people are encouraged to come.
So we got just a minute left. So if people want to learn more, anything we haven't touched on, you want to plug?
Well, so there's volunteers you talked about. We have a few board member positions available. Okay. So we have an amazing group of men and women who serve on our Central Western Mass Board of Directors, and they come from all different industries. And we would, that's available. So if anyone is interested, definitely reach out to the Red Cross of Central Western Mass or myself.
There you go.
To see what that opportunity offers.
And they can get that, reach out to you via
email.
Email? Yeah. And you want to say what that is?
Do I remember that? Yes, I do. nia.rennix at redcross.org.
nia.rennix.org.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, Nia, thank you. And
thank you.
Thanks for what the Red Cross does every day in Central and Western Mass.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us on this edition of Chamber Exchange, a TV show.